Hollywood and Christianity. Very trustworthy, right? Well, Hollywood has become a soapbox for these end-time narratives, or I should say narrative, weaving biblical prophecy into movies. Movies like Left Behind. I mean, that movie is noble, right? It's so biblical. I mean, isn't it? Movies just don't entertain you. They shape you. They captivate you. And they can manipulate you. All these end times movies with dark, imaginative scenarios, visions of apocalyptic scenes, these films, they masquerade as entertainment, while they simultaneously pluck the story straight from Revelation, or at least they say they do. The result? A fantastical mixture of movie magic and subtle spiritual programming.
Many years after that shower scene, audience reactions are becoming an exact science. Neuroscientists are looking at how we watch movies to figure out which styles of filmmaking have maximum control over viewers' brains. It's popularly being called neurocinema.
Consider the reoccurring message from these revelation-based movies. Humanity teetering on the brink of destruction. The devil incarnate walks the earth. And in these movies, everyone knows who he is. But that's a bit of a stretch, isn't it? Have you read Revelation? I mean, I've listened to it almost every day for about 2 months, and you cannot convince me that a mere mortal knows what the heck is going on. These movies, they're not just selling tickets, they're not just selling digital subscriptions, they're planting seeds in you. The imagery, the dark skies, the horned beasts, the cryptic symbols everywhere, it digs into your subconscious. It churns up fears in you while it hints at modern, seemingly plausible, anxiety-inducing scenes. The apocalypse isn't just biblical anymore, it's cultural currency. And it's a hot topic. But did you know this Revelation stuff? It's called eschatology. In this eschatology, there's 7 different eschatological views.
The futurists take Revelation as literal and sequential, tied to signs of the end times. It emphasizes milestones like the rapture and final judgment. Full preterists believe all prophecies are fulfilled, while partial preterists await Christ's second coming. The historicist views Revelation as a symbolic timeline of church history, and the Antichrist is seen as a recurring figure, often tied to corrupt institutions. The idealists view Revelation as an allegory of good versus evil, highlighting spiritual truths rather than specific events. The eclectic view combines all interpretations, balancing preterist, futurist, historicist, and idealist themes. The literalists take Revelation at face value, with beasts, plagues, and battles seen as literal events. The postmillennial reign view argues Christ has already come back. For 1,000 years and afterwards, the devil was loosed from the pit, brought a worldwide mud flood, has altered historical records, stolen architecture, and fabricated the Dark Ages to hide the truth.
War, famine, suffering, fire and brimstone, a lake that burns forever, the beast, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
So, 7 different end times views, right? And we know that the text itself is not easily discernible at all. Yet these movies all have the same-ish end times narrative. Obvious dystopian culture, an obvious beast, or antichrist, whatever you want to call it. These movies portray the same interpretation of Revelation in modern times, even though it's extremely confusing text.
Do you think that it is possible that the dragon would also have a diabolical plan to brainwash billions of so-called followers of the Messiah by ushering in a Christian film industry?
These movies just don't tell us stories. They condition us what to expect. As viewers, we often don't realize we're being subtly shaped. Specific endings to these stories. It's called pre-programming. Roll your eyes if you want, but it's prevalent, very prevalent, and for whatever reason they do it. Cultural conditioning, soft disclosure, interpretive deception, it is what it is.
I want you to think about this logically. Is it not true that billions of Christians all believe pretty much the exact same layout when it comes to the prophecy of the Antichrist, the mark of the beast, and the rapture? Yes or no? Do not the majority of the followers of the so-called church believe that the Antichrist will make himself known, that he will set up his temple in Israel, that he will sit in a literal temple in Israel, that his mark will be visibly seen on the top of the right hand or the forehead, and that the rapture most certainly will take place before any of these things happen?
Am I the only one that finds it strange that 40 or 50 end times movies created in the last 40 or 50 years or so, most of them fit the same narrative? The same story translated from the very confusing text of Revelation, even though there's 7 or more different end times views. But you want easily digestible answers, and that's why people click so fast on titles that scare them. They are scared and they seek comfort. Listen, even the low-budget films have barriers to entry. It isn't just, hey, I have money, I want to make a movie. The system in which movies are produced have filters inside of them. They indirectly influence the final results. You see the final result. If there wasn't an end times narrative being pushed at you, you would see diverse opinions produced in these movies. These end time movies suggest that apocalyptic prophecy isn't just an ancient prediction, right? It's a script actively being played out in our world, and it plants triggers in your mind. Triggers that will go off subconsciously, directing you if you're not close with God, and they could in fact mislead you. I'm not saying don't watch these movies, I'm just warning you about the other side of the coin. There is something weird going on, alright? All these celebrities holding their hand over one eye, all these pictures of that's weird. The obsession with numbers, dude, numbers, that's crazy. The numbers are crazy. Hollywood's either trolling us or they're doing something really creepy. And any intellectual trying to tell you that this is just innocent Hollywood imagery, that's not right, dude. There's obviously something going on. Over the decades, we have been inundated with occult symbolism, and catastrophic things are bound to happen, right? These images create a sense of inevitability. They condition us to accept these things. Such events are on the horizon, right? And instead of resisting them, we internalize them. We've been subtly taught to expect and even accept that the end is inevitable. But you don't know, so stop. God is great. You are not. We suck, and that's why they strung up Jesus, because humans are idiots. Okay, let's circle back to the 7 end times views. I would argue that the most entertaining view of them all is the post-millennial reign view. Very entertaining, but oddly, it's not really accepted by biblical scholars, which is strange. And I get it, there is nuance to some of these movies out there, but it's ultimately the same story and the same end times view. What if, just what if, that the first 6 of those end time views are wrong? When I was a kid, I grew up in the Y2K era, impending doom. It was the digital apocalypse. Right before the year 2000, my household became totally Christian. And my mother was unwavering in one belief: the world was going to end. This wasn't just an occasional topic. It was the central theme to my childhood. I remember asking my mom casually in the car, "Where are we going, Mom?" Her answer, "To hell if you don't change your ways." Constantly repeating that like it was some joke or something. It wasn't a joke to me at all, actually. And then we came right up to that line. Y2K was right there. My parents were convinced that it was the end. They stockpiled food, they talked about doomsday. For them, it wasn't a possibility, it was pretty inevitable. The hopelessness was everywhere. It was everywhere in my house. My mother's warnings about the apocalypse, they weren't just words, they became part of me. They're still with me. As a child, I didn't have the tools to process it. All I knew was that the world was ending, and according to my mom, I was not good enough to make it to heaven. And guess what, Mom? Y2K never happened. I pretty much stopped living for the future. In my mind, there wasn't one. I gave up. A once bright, ambitious student, I became a troublemaker. I acted out, I got into arguments with teachers. I was once an honor student. I was a class president, but then I spiraled into delinquency. I missed 60 days of school my junior year. When I was a kid, I believed in God, but he felt distant, like I couldn't get to him. And my mom, when I asked her where were you going, it's like so many times to hell if you don't change your ways. It sounds silly, but that really messed me up. And the end times doomsday stuff, man, it screwed me up. I eventually went to prison at 21 years old. And as strange as it is, that's where things started slowing down. I had to stop. I couldn't run from things, right? I'm not gonna lie, I didn't get it right after prison, but it was the beginning. But I haven't forgotten the fear of not being able to have a future, that this end times theology being pushed down my throat did, and at the same time, joking around with your kid about you're gonna go to hell if you don't change your ways. It's just not biblical, it's not true, and it messed me up, dude. It's the reason I'm telling you the story today, really. End times theology is not something to weaponize. Fear isn't the foundation of faith. It's a poison. Telling kids they're gonna go to hell, or that the world is ending, doesn't bring them closer to God. It pushes them away. That's why innocent children go to heaven. They don't have the faculties to process things. Don't push this fear-based society on your kids, man. God's love, bigger than the end times. It's bigger than Revelation, bigger than fear. Revelation is complex, mysterious, symbolic. Pretending to know exactly what it means is risky, not just for you, it's risky for your kids or anyone around you. The Hollywood version of the end times only adds to this confusion. It plants fear instead of faith. But here's the good news. You don't have to live in fear. Trust in God, not apocalyptic predictions. When I'm alone praying or singing a worship song, I submit to God. It took me a while to do this, right? That submission was tough. But now, the joy of the Lord sometimes hits me. And it sounds weird, my skin tingles, my head gets warm and fuzzy, and I'm happier than any drug I ever took. Any drug on this earth has ever made me feel. Now, you can call me crazy if you want, but you will find out if you press in, and it feels so good. I think you should try that out. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like button. I really want to build the channel, and if this gets monetized one day, you'll help me leave a little bit of that secular world behind. Sometimes I don't like being front and center, but God led me to do this. People told me to do this, so here I am. Now, you watch the video. Like I always say, you ate the candy, put the money in the jar, which is the like button. Hit the like button. See you later.